Good morning. My name is Ann Merrill. I'm the co-president of the Appraisal and Valuations Division of Gordon Brothers Group, headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. In our 7th consecutive year as a corporate sponsor of the Terry J. Lundgren Center for Retailing, it's my pleasure this morning to introduce you to Ken Frieze, president of Gordon Brothers Group, and Scott Hardy, president and CEO of Polaroid. As president of Gordon Brothers Group, Ken Frieze currently oversees Gordon Brothers' North American retail, consumer and industrial, real estate, and brand businesses. Ken serves on the board of directors for Gordon Brothers Group and is also one of the company's major shareholders. Ken joined the firm in 2003 and led the valuation, brand, and business development groups at various times until becoming president. During that tenure, Ken oversaw more than $100 billion worth of appraisals, including dozens of very high-profile brand valuations. Ken was part of the core team that drove the Polaroid and the Sharper Image transactions for our firm, among many other brand transactions. Prior to joining Gordon Brothers, he was CEO of RetailExchange.com, as well as a management consultant with Bain & Company and a turnaround consultant with Deloitte CRG. Ken served on the board of the Turnaround Management Association and was most recently the co-chair of the TMA's annual international convention. Ken holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Lehigh University and an MBA from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. While Ken's business ties to Gordon Brothers are quite extensive, his family ties are even greater. You see, it was Ken's great-grandfather who actually founded Gordon Brothers 110 years ago in 1903. Scott Hardy was appointed Chief Executive Officer of Polaroid in October of 2012 after serving as president since May of 2009. He's responsible for leading all aspects of Polaroid's transformation into a world-class brand licensing and marketing company. Throughout his career, Scott has implemented business strategies that delivered differentiation, market leadership, rapid growth, and strong bottom-line results in the highly competitive electronics marketplace. Prior to joining Polaroid in 2004, he held various positions of leadership at Dell Incorporated, leading product marketing for the multi-billion-dollar displays line of businesses, which included the LCD monitors, DLP projectors, and the LCD and plasma televisions. Previously, Scott also worked in product marketing at Intel Corporation. He holds an MBA from the Marriott School at Brigham Young University and a Bachelor of Arts in Mandarin Chinese from BYU. He's been married for 19 years and is the proud parent of 5 children, 1 girl and 4 boys. In his spare time, Scott's busy serving in his church and his community, coaching his son's football teams, golfing, skiing, or taking advantage of Minnesota's 10,000 lakes while boating with his family. Please join me this morning in welcoming Ken Frieze and Scott Hardy to the stage for their presentation, Brands, the Asset Behind the Logo. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good job. Looks like the mic's working. Good to be here in Arizona. The weather's better. What Ann didn't mention is that $100 billion of appraisals that I oversaw. She now oversees those for Gordon Brothers, which we're very proud of. I'm here really today to tell you a little bit about who Gordon Brothers is, our focus on brands, and then turn it over to Scott, who will come up on stage and replace me to talk about specifically Polaroid. So to start that, thinking about the brand, of course, there's obviously this very famous quote that every brand is a product, but not every product is a brand. That's the heart of identifying the value of a brand distinct from other assets. So a little bit about Gordon Brothers first. name you may not have heard of, although we've been associated with this conference for a long time through Ann and others. We do about $50 billion worth of transactions a year, about $40 billion of that is appraisals, and we have about $750 million at our disposal to do deals of different types, which I'll show you. Let's see if we got that. A little bit about who we are for those who don't know us. Small organization, about 250 people with reach into different organizations for networks on real estate folks and field folks that we use on transactions. We've been around for 110 years, as Ann said, and we have about 9 offices worldwide. We do a lot of different things, some of it that touches retail and some of it doesn't, and it ranges from inventory disposition to real estate, lease disposition and mitigations, accounts receivable, commercial industrial, M&E, et cetera. The focus today, though, is on brands, and it's probably the newest area of our focus. We've been doing it about 10 years, where we buy and appraise and value brands. You can see that some of the organizations that we've touched right up on the slide here, from valuation to lending to acquisition, development, management, and operation. So we pretty much touch and look at and value and trade brands in many different aspects and lend against. There's 3 ways that we think of that are well known to value brands. Of course, you have cost approach, market approach, income approach, pretty standard methods of valuation. And in the brand space, there's a little tweak on that discounted cash flow called relief from royalty, which we use to get a handle on what that brand is really worth distinct from other assets. What's also is unique about brands is brands are quite a bit different in an asset class from others. I throw this chart up a lot. Cash, you can predict what cash generally is worth unless you have a major financial crisis. A dollar is worth a dollar, so you can predict that that cash is worth a dollar. As you move to other asset classes, there's a different risk profile with the underlying asset, the predictability, especially if you were to try to value that asset, what it's worth, what it's going to be traded at. Retail inventory, for example, is very easy to identify what that's going to be worth and liquidating that asset over 12 weeks or 6 months. And also wholesale inventory, real estate, others, you can predict what those values are. There's markets for those values. Those values of those assets have trades that are counted with 100 maybe people looking at it versus retail inventory 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 or even 1 million people buying and selling retail inventory in the retail space every day. But when you go all the way to the right of the chart and you look at brands, there's not that many buyers and sellers of brands. It's not as liquid a market. So you got to really know what you're doing and identify those traders. So it's harder, just based on liquidity of those transactions, to predict its value. We've developed methods to do that, both in terms of valuation and to trade for our own behalf. Think about different types of brands. You have commercial brands, consumer brands, you have retail brands that you can convert to consumer brands, and you also have retail franchise brands. And there's basically 4 different ways to turn them into licensing models. Of course, you probably all heard from Neil Cole at Iconics the other day about what his focus is, which is direct to retail. Of course, you can do category licensees and regional licensees, and of course channel. It's not just all big box and e-tail, but you could be on the TV or on the web, et cetera. There's multiple different ways in which you could license on a specific basis a brand. Now, what do we look at when we try to value brands? What are the key driving factors, whether we're going to appraise it or we're going to buy it? It's sales, of course, and historical sales. Sometimes those are choppy. You look at the customer base and concentration. Where is it in the competitive landscape vis-a-vis similar brands and products? Historical margins and profitability. Current licensing arrangements, if they exist, and comparison to similar transactions. None of those is a silver bullet. And even there's more than what you're seeing on this page. So you have to combine a little bit of art and science when you're looking at a brand to see what it's really worth. If you think about a brand, there's, of course, brand that can be used as a collateral for an asset-based loan, or you could be off buying the brand to trade it for your own account. So in our brand practice, which is quite large, a brand valuation practice, which is quite large, we tend to have a method that focuses on the relief from royalty, a discounted cash flow assessment of what that brand is worth. That looks at where the brand is today and where it was yesterday. It doesn't put a lot of credence as where it could be tomorrow. That's a little bit of a stretch if you're using it for collateral. Asset-based lenders in particular want to know what is the net orderly liquidation value of a brand. What is it worth today? You could dream up all kinds of brand extensions, but I'm not willing to bet on that. That's a brand valuation scenario as an appraisal for collateral. When we look at it to acquire, we take that and we say, well, there are brand extension possibilities. You can build up some sensible expansion in regional or category areas, and you can look at that on a discounted cash flow basis and say that's going to be worth X plus Y. And we also put a lot more credence into the comparables of where other brands have traded. So while you should be the same in terms of valuation, the assumptions are a little bit different because the scenarios are different on those two areas. We, at Gordon Brothers, tend to look at brands that are, we're not in the market with some of the big boys who are looking to buy high growth, successful brands and roll them up. We're looking at those that are a little bit forgotten. So orphan brands, dormant brands, underexploited brands. And where our focus had been very successfully is in good brands stuck in broken business models. There's a couple of good examples of that. So our process is to go from due diligence to development and management of the brand and eventually sell it. We're not long-term holders of brands for decades or centuries. We look to add our value and then sell it to, as we did, you probably heard yesterday from Neil Cole, as we did with Sharper Image, which we sold to Iconics. So a couple of examples. So reinventing the business model. Think about what we did with Bombay, where it was a buy-sell model, a retailer, and we turned it into a licensing royalty model. Polaroid. We jump-started the marketing. I think some people in this room probably know we brought on Lady Gaga early as a celebrity creative director for Polaroid, which really helped jump-start the brand when we took it over. In Linens and Things, we took a retailer brand and turned it into what is primarily now an online, you can go to linensandthings.com for those with your PCs and see what we're doing with Linens and Things online today. Product extension, Sharper Image. Sharper Image was obviously a retailer, had some of its own product, known for this air purifier and for the massage chair, but we felt that it was a lifestyle brand that could be expanded in concentric circles of relevant categories, which is exactly what we did, and then ultimately it became a very successful licensor-licensee model and grew from there. Polaroid's a great example of when we bought Polaroid, we understood what the brand was perceived to be in the United States after all it's been worth, but we thought that there was great international expansion. This is one of the best well-known brands in the world. Scott's going to talk a lot about this, and there is opportunity to expand internationally. So when we look at a brand, you can see that there's multiple different ways in which you can grow and exploit that brand over time. And that's some examples. I want to bring Scott up. He's going to tell you the story about Polaroid itself. We got involved actually before it filed bankruptcy for the second time. We were down there doing an appraisal and evaluation. Ultimately, in 2009, we were successful bidders in a 363 auction in Minnesota, and we shifted. This was our business model. We shifted from a buy-sell model to a license model, and Scott and his team has made it very successful, and it now has 35-plus licensees. Scott, take it away.
Thanks, Ken. So regarding Polaroid, I wanted to just walk you through a little bit of an overview around what the brand's about and who we are today. And so to kick that off, I want to just start with a little video presentation to show you and kind of pose the question, what is Polaroid?
Everyone knows what Polaroid is. Or do they? Take a closer look at Polaroid, and what you'll find is sure to surprise you. Polaroid equals offers exceptional value, a quality product that's easy to use at a great price. Polaroid has always stood for innovation. It is in our DNA. We believe technology should be simple right out of the box. It should enhance your life, not complicate it. Sharing is the essence of the Polaroid brand. Some might even say that we were the original social network. These are some of the ways that Polaroid helps people share in the digital age. Smart cameras, mobile phones, tablet computers, mobile apps. We even pushed the boundaries of the revolutionary product that made us famous by bringing instant cameras into the digital world. Polaroid has always been an important part of the creative community, and today Polaroid continues to be an integral force in popular culture, stimulating creativity, authenticity, and self-expression.
Polaroid for me is a lifestyle. It's the highest quality in photography, and so many other products that some people don't even know Polaroid's responsible for.
Polaroid is one of a handful of companies with 100% brand recognition worldwide. For the past 75 years, Polaroid has been a part of people's everyday lives. But it's not about taking a walk down memory lane.
Polaroid. 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 Polaroid.
Polaroid is back. Modern day Polaroid.
It is a modern day. Shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake it.
We're reimagining the Polaroid experience for the digital age. Most of what we'll be selling over the next decade hasn't even been invented yet. Polaroid, 75 years young. This is only the beginning.
So for 75 years, Polaroid has been a company that has built up this tremendous recognition around the world. And it's as a result of the tens of billions of dollars that have been of product that have been put into the marketplace. It's the innovation of the iconic products that have also been launched over that period of time, combined with all the marketing and messaging and things that have been communicated to the consumer community. And I joined Polaroid initially and was involved with the Polaroid brand initially as a licensee. Polaroid had started a small licensing program with under the legal department with a couple individuals back in 2003. And a couple younger guys like me basically negotiated a brand licensing deal to launch consumer electronics with the Polaroid brand in North America. And I still remember Jacques Nasser, who was the former chairman of Ford Motor Company, who had been appointed by One Equity Partners, the current owner of the company at the time, to oversee it. And when we signed the deal, he said, "Good luck, boys. You know, maybe you'll sell a couple products. We'll see what happens." Well, in that first year, we sold $130 million in sales from a cold start of zero. Next year, we did $330 million in consumer electronics. The year after that, we did almost $600 million. We were bigger than Polaroid Corporation at that point. And the companies actually, that basically led to a merger as Polaroid's analog film sales continued to decline. And so in 2005, it became one entity. Well, as you can imagine, joining a startup consumer electronics company which runs on very low margins with a 70-year-old company which had been a monopoly for most of its life, it was an interesting synergy management integration, and it took a lot of effort. But as we went through the process, we learned a lot of things about who we were, including what is the biggest asset that we have. And it always became clear in every strategic planning session we would hold in Massachusetts or in Minnesota that the brand was the biggest asset we had as a company. But as a management team who's been running an operating company with thousands of employees, you look at that and you say, okay, so what are we going to do about it? And so we started to go off and dabble in some licensing programs and take some of the consumer electronics businesses that we were in and flip them to a licensing model. The reason being is between the factory, who has tremendous amount of engineering resources and capabilities and development, and then going to the retailer, having a middleman in the middle can add a substantial amount of cost on very low margin items. There's also additional working capital required. And so in some ways, by necessity, we started to get into licensing program. So when the time came for, when Gordon Brothers started bidding on the company back in 2008, and other investors, they always asked us in the due diligence process, what would you do if this was your company? And it always went back to, because we had different types of business models that each investor group was exploring, licensing always seemed to make the most sense. It had the lowest risk with the highest ROI in terms of distributions and return on invested capital to the owners. Well, as we look at the kind of where we're at, this iconic history of Polaroid, there's been many iconic products launched over the years. The land camera, when it first launched, was transformational. In today's dollars, that camera would have sold for almost $1,000 in the dollars when it first came out. The SX70 was launched in 1972, and that was the foldable leather and metal camera that was as revolutionary at the time as the iPhone is today. And we've had many of these great iconic products over the years that have really made Polaroid, given it the brand, that cool factor. You know, it's like humility. You can't say I'm humble and be humble, right? You can't say I'm cool, our brand's cool. You have to earn cool. And the brand has earned that cool, hip and cool factor over the years. And I'm going to close with a video that just shows you all the product placement that we don't even pay for, that we get from pop culture, whether it's from famous photographers, musicians, writing songs about Polaroid, music videos, or movies. In terms of the brand recognition, the video hit on this, but what's unique about Polaroid, if you just look at it from a clinical, legal trademark perspective, there's very few brands which can be globally classified as a famous brand or a famous trademark. We have a portfolio of registrations in hundreds of countries around the world, whether it's domain names to our trademark filings on the actual Polaroid and Pixel, or other brand elements, including the color spectrum, the rainbow that you've seen on the one-step camera, or even the classic white border, which shows up, you know, in many marketing materials and things like that from other companies, where they're using that classic border logo in the famous square frame with the nice little area below to write something on it. And so with that, we've been able to take that recognition and transform the company. We went through an exercise after I was appointed to be the CEO late last year, where we said, we went through and looked at the hundreds of thousands of dollars of market research and data that had been done on Polaroid over the last decade. And we wanted to extract out what are the key things that matter. You know, there's a lot of expensive marketing studies, and they all kind of had similar intersection points. And so we went through all the data and said, let's really figure out and peel back the onion and say, what do we stand for? What are the functional attributes and the design attributes that make up our DNA? At the top of the list was sharing. And I'll talk more about sharing in a minute. Also, ease of use, instant gratification, capture, all things that, okay, intuitively people think of Polaroid, they think of, okay, take my instant camera, take a picture, it ejects a photo. We felt like we were the original social network because you take a picture and share it. Social networks revolve around photo sharing. On the design side, heritage designs like I mentioned, the classic border logo, and then anything colorful has been very powerful with us. And so we take that DNA and infuse it into all the products we do. We really view our role as curators of innovation. Our business model allows us to go out and find the innovators in the marketplace. In some cases, they're manufacturers. In other cases, they might be startup companies. In others, it may be a multi-hundred-million-dollar wholesaler trading company. But we go and we forge these strategic partnerships with those companies to bring the products to market. In terms of the brand personality, at the end of the day, what makes a brand valuable is that the consumer trusts it. And so that's always a key attribute. Reliability, spontaneous, creative. Polaroid's very Americana. As we go international, we're finding a very favorable response because the consumers internationally, in many cases, especially in Asia, are looking for these kind of Western brands. And we represent that with our brand, and it's been very successful in that regard. In terms of the consumer, our demographic skews very much female. We've done multiple studies, and in all cases, the female has a much higher interest level in our brand than the male consumer. As a result, that's why we've had a lot of success selling our products, maybe in not the most intuitive channels where we've had the most success. Examples, Target continues to be one of our largest customers in the mass channel. The female guest at Target loves our brand. She associates with it. She likes it. We talked about Lady Gaga in the video. Lady Gaga, the first product we launched together was the GL10 Instant Mobile Printer. Where did we launch it? We launched it at Bloomingdale's. Speaking of the theater concept, on Lexington Avenue, we had the entire, all the display windows there converted to sell the product, and we told the brand story, we told the association with Gaga story, and explained how the product worked. I can't think of the last time Polaroid had had so much success in a high-end retailer like Bloomingdale's. Macy's, we had one of the top-selling items in their store with an audio product that sold on Black Friday just in 2012. Sold out, had tremendous success. So we've been really looking at where can we go get that consumer? Where does she shop? Where does she want to buy? There are other people, though. There's a Polaroid advocate. We have this fan base that is so loyal and is rooting for our success. They really care about what we're doing. And they're always talking to us and communicating with us through the online social channels and in other channels. And so we've continued to find ways to address their needs. One of them being, they've been saying, bring instant film back. So we've been working closely with a company in the Netherlands who actually acquired one of our old film factories, and they've revitalized it. They've had to redo the chemistry, rework the film. It doesn't quite look exactly the same, but it's backward compatible with all your cameras. So we're relaunching that. It's selling out on Polaroid.com as fast as we can get it in stock. The other thing is we started going out and buying refurbished Polaroid cameras. There's billions of cameras around the world that have been put into the market, and there's a high value on them. So getting those and reselling refurbished cameras for $300. Consumers want that kind of legacy. Then there is the tech leader. We have that tech leader who is an early adopter. In terms of how we position our brand from a price point, we're all about exceptional value. We're a trusted brand, we have great quality products, and it's always at the right price. But the key is it's tier one features, but at a more affordable price point. You know, the consumer electronics market has transformed dramatically since I've been involved the last decade. Apple is now the only tier one brand. Maybe Samsung has etched their way up quite a bit. When I first got involved with consumer electronics, Samsung, at least in the PC space, 20 years ago, Samsung wasn't really anything. But now they've come out of nowhere, and now all the Japanese brands are in big trouble. They're losing billions of dollars a year with their broken business models. And so we really feel like we're on the forefront of taking what the apparel industry has mastered in this brand licensing and brand marketing concept and now applying it into a different industry. Yesterday you saw a slide from Neil Cole, and this is actually a slide from his investor deck. This is the transformation we had to go through from a traditional operating company into this brand licensing company where our focus is on marketing, advertising, PR, licensing program, trend direction, and then there's a tremendous amount of back-end compliance, quality audits, testing that we oversee because to us, we want the consumer to have the same experience with the product they buy as if Polaroid had built it themselves in a vertical manner. But this business model is powerful. You know, I'm a big, Ann mentioned in my introduction that I coached my son's football team. I played football growing up. I love the sport. And, speaking of University of Arizona, so I went to BYU. I'm a huge BYU football fan. Well, about 3 years ago, U of A poached our offensive coordinator, Robert, and he came down here and coached for the last 3 years, including under Rich Rodriguez last year, where they had this. Rich Rodriguez, if you don't know, he's an innovator in offense in football. He's all about going fast, going hard. He perfected it at West Virginia, went on to Michigan, now he's at University of Arizona. Well, recently we poached Robert and I back to be our offensive coordinator, and his big thing, his simple theme is go fast, go hard. And that's what our brand allows us to do. Because I have 40 licensees around the world who are specialists in their category, specialists in their geography, we are able to expand categorically and geographically at a more rapid rate than Polaroid could have ever dreamed of as a vertical company. And at the same time, we are delivering tremendous returns for our investors. We've probably distributed more dividends in the last 24 months than Polaroid had done in the prior 10 years. So it's a tremendous business model that we've been able to perfect under Gordon Brothers and their other investors' leadership. The key businesses we focus on are imaging, tablets, mobile phones, televisions, and just to show you some of the categories, Instant's a big thing. On the video, we talked about this digital instant product. This product is selling out nonstop. It's basically, it prints a wallet-sized photograph, takes a digital image, and then you can print it on the spot. We can't get enough of them. It's manufactured by one of our big partners, Foxconn, who makes Honhai, who makes all of Apple's products. We have a bigger version of that as well that has been very successful. And then we have a small instant camera that retails for $69 to $79, and you buy the film. And this was done through a partnership with Fujifilm, who's one of the last instant film manufacturers in Japan. Because of our business model, we can go to what was our single largest instant film competitor for decades and actually become strategic partners. That is how this business model is different. There is no mentality of not invented here, where in many bureaucracy in the technology industry, those companies, it stifles innovation because everything has to be made by them and invented by them. Not in our case. We also just launched at the Consumer Electronics Show the world's first Android interchangeable lens camera. And then we have a wide variety of digital cameras and unique niches. The market continues to shift, so we play in waterproof, we play in ultra slim, we have an action sports line, helmet mountable, sporting mountable cameras. That category has exploded thanks to our friends at GoPro. We take our positioning, we take our brand attributes, we apply it in a much more affordable way, and this category is really booming for us and taking off this year. We talked about flat screen televisions. If you're in the consumer electronics business, you have to be in this business. Tough business. But we've had great success with it around the world. You saw the success we're having it with Walmart Asda in the UK, where we are one of the top selling items in their assortment. When the industry's down, we're actually up in their stores. And that's the power of that brand. Tablets is on fire. The category is just exploding. And this has been something that we're very proud of. And we really are looking at how do we infuse the DNA into it. And so we have a couple different strategic partnerships with app licensees that work even on iOS. One called Instant, another one called Polomatic if you want to download them. And they're very cool apps that let you really use that Polaroid experience, and then you can post it and share it to your favorite social networks. The mobile phone industry is also exploding. This one's less intuitive to North American consumers, where we're used to buying our phones subsidized from AT&T, Verizon, and other carriers. In international markets, the phones are sold unlocked. So the consumer is a lot more sensitive to price and acquisition costs because they're not signing up for a 2-year contract that subsidizes half the phone's price. So we're having tremendous success with Android-based products that have high-end cameras and nice software in the markets that are emerging. Eventually, we'll make it over here, and we're working on a deal right now, in fact, to close, trying to do it today. Photo bar. We launched the Polaroid Photo Bar in Delray Beach about a month ago. And what it is it's solving a problem that says the consumer has these images that need to be liberated from their smartphones. These are the money shots. Forget about 4x6 printing in a grocery store or a drugstore. This is about what is the shot you care about. Why is it just sitting on your computer or on your phone? Put it on your wall. Put it on your desk. Make it a work of art. And so we launched a retail store concept in Delray Beach, Florida, called the Polaroid Photo Bar. And it has been amazing. One of the most interesting learnings in this short period of time since it's launched, and that's an actual photograph of what the store looks like on top with the opening and then empty, is if you look to the very back, we have these Polaroid Classic Border posters. And that has been the #1 selling item. Consumers just want to come in, they log into Instagram, Facebook, Picasa, Apple's, photo sharing, whatever you're on, Flickr, and then you'd say, I want this photo printed. And we have actual photo tenders who are professional photographers that work there. Think of Apple Genius. And they walk up and they help you. They help you tweak it, modify it, and turn it into a work of art that you can have either order right there in the store, or if you want to go with a high-end framed option, within 72 hours it arrives at your home. It's been very well received and really epitomizes what we're all about as a brand. Polaroid was always stood for taking that memory and turning it into something physical. And so this has been a great success for us. Well, I talked about kind of Polaroid and pop culture, and you can't want to be cool, you just have to be cool. And I want to finish with a little video that shows how our brand has been infused.
cloud icon so you can send your creation out to the world.
Happy 75th anniversary to Polaroid.
A camera that would be, like the telephone, something that you use all day long.
We can't just think outside the box. We have to crush the box.
Watch the birdie.
Look at that. It's a Polaroid.
Capture the moment.
Someone take her picture. Click, click. So I don't forget her.
She'll never replace me, will she, Kermit?
Hey.
I wish I had a Polaroid. So I could remember.
It seamlessly integrates with the devices that we already use.
Someone take her picture. Click, click. So I don't forget her. Click, click. I wish I had a Polaroid.
Polaroid has given a modern-day makeover to its instant camera.
It's that instant gratification that we love.
Doesn't that sound fun? 1, 2, 3, cheese. It is a smart camera, and you can also play Angry Birds on it because you have 400,000 apps.
We have come a long way, baby, when it comes to size and compactness and portability.